Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Johngy podcast, without which life would be incomplete and have little or no meaning. I am, of course, who else but Tommy Else, and with me, as always, for better or for worse, from Skokie, Illinois, the man on the beat, from johngysbeat.com, Mr. Jonathan Shannon Robleski. How you
Just
doing?
save that one for St. Patrick's Day, Lottie.
How you doing, buddy?
I am good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. I'm excited about our guest today. We're gonna talk about some important stuff. We usually don't get into anything too heavy or important, but this is a good story from a good friend that I think will be it'll be good for people to hear from any walk of life. And yeah, man, I'm really excited about it. I feel good about it. Why don't you kind of set it up here for us?
Well, we have Roxy Heart. Roxy Heart is a mainstay in the Chicago independent wrestling scene. She's also an actress. Good friend of mine for 5-6 years. Her and her husband Joey Roth, who you might have heard. As I say in the interview, I had no idea that Roxy was battling some issues. And I saw it online, and she was openly talking about some body issues she has, body dysmorphia, other eating disorders. And I approached her delicately, because you don't know. And I asked her if she would like, since she's sharing it online and she'd like to share it on our forum, we would love to talk about it. We think it's a very important message. If she's strong enough to say it, we would love to have her on here. Yeah. She immediately agreed, and said that she'd come on and share it and talk about it. And I applaud her strength for doing that. And I encourage everyone to listen. It's a lot more serious than our usual interviews. No offense to our usual interviews, but this one deals with some heavy topics, but the important ones and not just if you have an eating disorder. This goes for any type of any problems you might be having. You kind of
any major obstacle in your life,
yeah.
that you might feel alone in fighting, for sure. But she's a strong-willed woman, and I mean, I think you would have to be if you're married to Joey Roth. So, but let's just get into it and bring her on.
The world famous, fabulous idol, Roxy Heart. For the Johngy podcast, welcome into our studios, Roxy Heart. How are you, Roxy?
I'm fabulous. Thank you for having Roxy on. But there's someone else that I want you to meet that not a lot of people know much of anything about. And I think this will be a nice segue in what we're going to discuss today. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hey, Elizabeth. How you doing? Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one not wearing glasses now. So
maybe you need some, pal.
Yeah.
Well,
or am I?
Maybe.
Those look good on Tommy. His heart, brighten up his face a little. Well, let's just jump into this. Shall I call you Roxy or Elizabeth for this?
Let's use Elizabeth today. We're getting personal today.
That's perfect. So, Elizabeth, you are an actress. You are on the wrestling's managing scene. We also are going to talk a little bit later about something a little more serious, but we thought we'd start off with a little bit lighter stuff with your acting and your wrestling. How did you get into acting?
Well, I was a really shy kid growing up, only child. Didn't really have a lot of friends, to be honest with you. I wanted people to notice me, but I didn't know how. I was really, really good academically, but as we all know, that only gets you so far when you're younger. Adults respect it, kids don't all the time.
Right, yeah.
So I saw a couple productions when I was in elementary school, very simple stuff. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be something amazing to be part of? Get to be someone else for a while, get to come outside my shell. And I did, and I have been hooked ever since. And as you can see, I'm talking to you now, so it worked.
Well, that's interesting. So you were shy, but yet you still had the courage to go and do this as a kid.
In my mind, everything was prepared for you. They told you what to say. They told you where to go. You could barely see the audience because the lights are right in your face. So it should have been terrifying, but it wasn't, if that makes any sense at all.
It gives you the freedom to be like, hey, I didn't write this stuff. All right. I'm just out here. I'm just out here performing it, you know? So it's like, you can't blame me, you know? I get it with the crowd and stuff because I've done minor acting and stuff, but I've performed musically many times in front of crowds and everything. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like the bigger the crowd, the more you don't notice them almost. It's like, it's when you're playing for like 2 or 3 people that you like can feel all the eyes on you. But if you've got 20 people or something like that in the room or whatever more, you're able to just kind of block all that out. And so at least for me, at least I can focus on when I'm doing a little better. So
you got it absolutely right.
Yeah.
But then you at some point, along with acting, you segued into a little bit of wrestling.
Yeah, that's a funny story. I knew very little about wrestling besides, you know, I catch WWE flipping channels a little bit. I was familiar with the major players, but I met someone special quite a few years back. I think you're familiar with little person, Joey Roth. I think you know who he is.
Is he fabulous too?
He is so fabulous and world famous.
And an idol.
So when we started dating, a little few months into our relationship, he approached me and said, would you be interested in coming to this wrestling show I'm doing? And would you like to be my valet? And I said, what? What is that? I'm an 1800s male butler? What are you asking me to do? So I accompanied him to the show. I led him to the ring. I didn't say anything. I was terrified out of my mind. No script. I didn't know what I was doing. It was moving so fast. Everyone looking at me. I'm right up in their faces, just trying to keep a smile on my face, going, what the heck did I get myself into? And I got kidnapped by Mojo McQueen, and that was the most fun I think I'd had in quite a while. And
that's awesome. Yeah.
To be honest, it took me some time to feel comfortable enough where I could shout at the audience, where I could really create a character and get into it. At first, I was just a smiling, pretty face, and I still am a smiling, pretty face, but everyone in every Fed I've ever been a part of has been so supportive and wanted to help me develop my wrestling career. They would go out of their way to teach me the tricks, to give me tips. And I am so grateful for that. And now look at everything that I've been doing.
Yeah, you're everywhere.
It's funny where, you know, how you fall into the business sometimes and then where it ends up taking you. And I've been very fortunate in the past where I had a lot of people who just like went out of their way to be like, hey, get in the ring, we're going to roll around, you know, and work with you a little bit and stuff, you know. And it's just like they didn't have to do that, you know. And they, you know, it's one of the nice things about the wrestling community / family is there are a lot of wonderful people in there and who want to lift each other up. And so I'm glad that you got to experience that.
Everyone's been really protective of me. I have a million big brothers and sisters, and anyone gets even too close to me, they pummel them. So I feel, I feel very safe. I feel very seen. And when I don't hit a mark exactly right, I'm the type of person that tends to beat themselves up a lot. I'm like, oh no, I screwed up everything. What did I do? They're never going to ask me back.
Yeah.
No one ever berates me. They're like, you know what? It's not as bad as you think. Here's what you could do next time.
Right. Yeah. I had similar experiences too, where I was just like, you know, beside myself afterwards, and looking back on them, they really weren't major, you know, mistakes, but in the moment you just feel like I had one job and I messed it up, and you know, but
the audience doesn't know. For the most part, they're not gonna, unless it's a major goof that, you know, is clearly evident, they're not gonna know if you slipped up.
But I've had the same experience with the guys and girls in the back, though, where they're just like, look, you know, you messed up. That's part of the process. That's how you learn. Here's what you could do next time to do it better, you know? So,
Right.
Do
The
you
most
think you're,
important,
do you think, oh, go ahead.
the most important piece of advice I think I was ever given by many, many people is that you never stop learning in this business. If
Mhm.
you think you know it all, you're not doing it right.
right. No, you know, even the most grizzled veteran can always learn something new. So,
No, I was just going to ask you, Roxy or Elizabeth, do you think that your time in wrestling, has that helped your acting? You know,
Oh,
and
it
your,
absolutely has. And that's a very fair question. I was always an actress in my earlier days that was stuck in my head. I'm like, intellectually, I am waiting for my line. I know I have to do this blocking. And it showed. I wasn't focusing on my character. I wasn't focusing on my reactions. And now all of this spontaneous craziness around me that I have to adapt to so fast,
mhm.
it helps you adapt that to the stage too, and makes you realize it's not just about hitting those marks on stage. It's about creating life on stage. And that's what I wasn't doing.
Yeah, yeah, it makes you have to be able to work on the fly, but through the eyes and mind of a different character. Not not what would you do in this scenario, but what would that character do in this scenario? And if it's something that's spontaneous, you have to react with that in mind. What would Roxy do in this situation? So,
well, as much fun as all that is, and we could talk to you really, we could talk to you a lot longer about wrestling, about acting. And I have seen you act and it was very good.
Thank you.
Of course, I've seen you in the wrestling ring too, but the main reason we brought you on today is that you have a very serious topic that you're brave enough to share. I've seen you talk about it in public. I've seen you share it online, and we wanted to hear about it here and share your story with our listeners, our viewers.
Well, first of all, I want to sincerely thank you for even giving me the platform to talk about this openly. This is probably going to be something a lot of people don't know. A lot of people aren't on Facebook. They haven't seen me in a while. It's a topic that is really hard to talk about, but I think it is so important because not enough people are talking about it. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and say it right now in front of the whole world. Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I am a recovering anorexic and bulimic.
mhm.
I am still struggling with body dysmorphia, but I have come a long way in my recovery. At my smallest, I used to be 98 pounds,
Oh wow.
and
How,
I never
how
had any energy, and it was just so awful.
yeah. How tall are you?
I'm 5'4",
Okay.
so that's way out of range
Oh, for
medically.
sure. For sure.
When do you think it all started?
I thought about that so many times over the course of the past couple of years. I tell my doctors I think it started when a doctor triggered me into it, and I'll get into that in a second. My doctors say it's something really a person struggles with their whole life and they don't even realize it.
Mhm.
Um, for example, when I was young, I used to be a really big eater. I'd eat 2 or 3 hot dogs at a time, but I was active. I had a lot of stress. I burned it all off. And it was always pointed out to me by adults. Do you really need to be eating that? Oh, your thighs look so big in those jeans. These are serious comments that adults have told a young girl.
Sure.
And it's something, I'm sorry, I'm choking up a little bit. It's
No,
the
it's
first
fine.
time I've really talked about this verbally. But what really set me off, I never really realized that anything was wrong with me in any way with my body until I visited one of my doctors. I hadn't been to see them in a couple of years. They were asking about my medications, how I was feeling, asked me to get on the scales. So I did. And all of a sudden he goes, oh, you know what? You're really overweight for your height. You should do something about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I immediately broke down in a panic attack, which he ignored. And the next day I said, okay, what are you going to do about it? I mean, the fact is, whether he meant it or not, you could be healthier. What can you do to get yourself there? I did little things by trying to cut out the normal stuff, the fatty foods, exercise more. But then it kind of became a game, an obsession. How much more could I cut out of my diet today?
Yeah.
You had 800 calories. Can you go down to 500 calories? You eat 2 meals a day. Could you go down to 1, which I did? And at my worst, I was eating less than 200 calories a day, once a day.
Yeah.
And that's all I would have besides coffee and energy drinks. And the sick part is, the unwell part of my mind is I couldn't see how skinny I got. I didn't believe anyone that would tell me.
Yeah.
It's a disorder.
Yeah, and I understand body dysmorphia as well. My both of my parents were competitive bodybuilders, so you can imagine the shape that they're in, you know, as I'm a kid growing up and everything. So the bar is very high. So, but I was like you, where I could just eat anything I want and everything just burned right off, you know. But you know, as I got older and I got into like my early 20s and everything, I mean, and you know, still to this day, I mean, I have done 4 bodybuilding competitions where I've gotten my body fat down to, you know, next to nothing. And, you know, and even on that day, I could tell you what was wrong with me. And I would say, too fat here, my face looks fat, you know, and like all this stuff. It's like, I still can pick it apart. And people are like, you're crazy. They're like, you're nuts. Like, what are you talking about? You're like in the best shape of your life. I'm like, no, let's see right here. Look at this. I can see this in the picture. Yeah, I don't like that. So I know how that is. And that's me at like my best, quote unquote, you know, but so then anything beyond that, I'm still looking at myself being like, you know, and you know, I get plenty of people being like, you don't see yourself the way other people see you. And
No, and it's funny that you bring up exercise because I myself was exercising 3 to 4 hours a day. I wasn't getting enough protein. I wasn't getting enough calories.
you're not getting enough anything with a 200 calorie window. You're not getting the vitamins and nutrients you need for your body to operate properly, you know, and that's assuming that you're eating things, even if they're packed with it, it's still not enough of a window to get what you need.
Absolutely true.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, breaking some of the tension here.
So when did you realize this is really an issue, and now you've got to start pulling out of this somehow, or try to?
This disorder, anorexia, bulimia, anything in between, I call it the selfish disease because all you are doing is planning your days around you. When can you eat? Oh, is it going to be weird because other people are there? I have to wait to eat until after a wrestling show, after theater, because I might look bloated. I don't want to watch people watch me eat in case they say something. I'm not paying attention to others. All I'm thinking about is the next time that I can eat. And also, I hate myself for eating. So I wasn't paying attention to my family like I should have. I wasn't being present. I wasn't giving my full self to my wrestling. I wasn't giving my full self to theater. The whole thing I was thinking about performing was I can wear all these cool outfits that other girls can't wear. And I'm skinnier than they are. And people love me for it. But pretty soon it got so bad, the audience was shouting, "You're a crack whore, you're the queen of the trailer park." And I'm looking at Joey and I said, "Why are they shouting that kind of thing at me?" And he's like, "Honey, you are too thin. You look like you are on drugs." I even that, I couldn't see it. What finally broke me was marrying the love of my life and having this incredible stepdaughter. And I finally said to myself, if she sees you doing this, what is she gonna do? What is she gonna think? I didn't want any other little girl to go through the hell that I was going through, pardon my language. And that's what finally did it. I had to get better for my family, for her, for my husband, for everyone important in my life, because I was making them suffer along with me.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I'm glad that, you never know what it is that's going to, turn things around or get you to inspired to make a big change like that, because it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. It's a very big change in your lifestyle and your mindset, and it's emotionally, a big roller coaster. And it's something that it's not easy to find people who can relate to what you're going through too, so
That's another hard piece of this. People oftentimes, and understandably so, do not take body dysmorphia seriously because the media paints it in such a negative, stupid picture. Oh, there's a cheerleader that's going through a tough time and wants to make queen on the squad, or someone wants to get back at their family. It's mostly depicted as young teenage girls just going through some emotional hard time. And that is still true. However, there are so many men that are ignored. There are so many men that are suffering through this and are afraid to speak out because of that. There's a lot of people that don't know the resources available. There aren't like AA groups for anorexics everywhere. And the ones that I have found, you have to pay to be a part of. And a lot of people can't afford that.
Right.
I'm lucky that I found the National Eating Disorder Association, or NEDA, that has some resources. I'm lucky that I found an amazing therapist that helped me through this. My work had an amazing program where you could reach out to an advocate that helps you find one. I mean, I was lucky with the resources I had, but I really had to dig.
Well, you know what, though? Good for you for digging, though, because I mean, first, it's like anything, you have to first realize that you have a problem, and then you have to want to do something about it. And it's real easy for people who have the issue to take, it feels like the easiest thing to do is just give into it, because it's hard to fight it, and it's hard to go through looking for help and admitting, and giving yourself up to the idea of someone, of sharing with someone else, and being vulnerable, and then listening, and trying to take in their advice and then put it into practice, and actually do what they're suggesting and trying to help you with. I mean, there's a lot of different facets to the whole thing, and that's so much more work than just saying screw it and just go along with it and just stay where you're at and be idle, so I mean, that's really
Also, I'm lucky too. I have such an incredible support system that was there all along if I had just listened. I mean, Joey is my rock. He's incredible. He's my biggest supporter. He always was. And my friends and my parents and everybody in my life has just been there for me every step of the way, and they still are. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Trust me, that makes me really happy. That really makes my heart full to hear that. I mean, it's so important. It's so important.
Unfortunately, a disorder that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. There's no cure for this. I have good days. I have days where I love how I look. I have days where I feel good, and I have days where I don't. It's hard. And I'm not trying to belittle any other disorder, but with a bottle of alcohol, I can walk out of the room and close the door. I could leave it there. I can't live without food.
Right. And your body follows you everywhere. You can't leave that at home either. So.
Now, Roxy, you're in wrestling. We all know the wrestling fans, whether they're just part of the act or whether they're just cruel, they could be vicious at times. How do you deal with it now? Like if they say, they could say lots of bad things, again, whether they're just trying to be funny or whether they're just jerks.
That's an interesting point, and it's actually something I've been dreading. Every show, I'm like, who is the jerk that's been stalking me on Facebook somewhere that I don't know, that's going to say, hey, pig, or hey, you're getting chubby, or something like that. But that's more of my own mind.
Right.
Beating me up. That's not something that I think will happen. It's something that I hope won't happen. But if it does, I'm going to have to realize that what they say is most likely not true. It's trying to get a rise out of me. I'm a heel. They're going to say whatever it takes to get a rise out of me, and I can't let it. Or if I
Exactly.
do, I got to give it right back to them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know that as a heel, you're supposed to get heat. You're trying to get them to yell at you and everything. And there's a lot of common phrases and things like that they're going to they're going to yell at women and managers and things like that. But the problem is that when it processes through your mind, you're filtering that in a different way rather than through the character. You're taking some of that personally, and there's no way for you or anyone else to be able to decipher between the ones that genuinely mean it and the ones who are just there, being part of the show and trying to get a rise out of you. Which, if I was to guess, I would say the majority of it is the latter. It's just them screwing with you because you're the heel and everything,
But you just need one real jerk to throw
or them to
off.
just say it in just the right phrasing or something that just cuts to the bone somehow, even if they don't mean it. I get that.
It's fair. I know it's going to happen one day. I don't know when, but I'm mentally preparing myself for it. And I just gotta keep up with the work. I gotta keep going to therapy. I gotta keep communicating, because if I lock it all up in here and that comment does come, I will just collapse in a heap, and that's something I don't want. But that's
Right.
advice I would give for anyone going through this: is don't stop the work and talk, communicate. And you know what? If you talk to someone that doesn't respect you or doesn't understand, find someone else, because there will be someone out there that will listen to you and take you seriously, no matter who you are.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I know you have a quick wit, so that's certainly going to help you. If that, unfortunately, if that ever happens to you, I've seen your quick wit, so I'm betting on you on that one.
You'll zing them back real easy. Yeah, you'll zing
If
them
it was
back.
a year ago, probably not, but now I feel so much stronger than I ever was, and
Yeah.
I'm proud of everything that I've done. And if you don't mind, one more piece of advice I would give to someone going through this is, I used to beat myself up to my doctors going, why isn't my mental progress faster? Why am I backpedaling? What's going on? I feel like I'm failing, because some days I'll ask, do I look fat, or I feel like a whale, something like that. It's not a straight road to recovery. My doctors
Sure.
say, hey, Elizabeth, calm down. Look at how far you have come in such a short period of time, when some people in my position take years of going into inpatient therapy. They go back. Some people go to the hospital and die. I'm lucky that I never, ever had to go to the hospital for this. So, you know what I say to all of you, men, women, whoever you are, don't beat yourself up. You went to get help. That's the first stage. Just learn to love your progress.
Right. And you got to remember too that you're trying to work your way out of something that, again, you've potentially have been contending with your entire life. So to expect it to just, turn around in 6 months or something like that's not realistic. It's like I've got personal training clients of mine who like didn't start working out ever until they were in their like mid 50s or something like that. And it's they're just like, after 6 months they're like, well, why aren't I jacked up and everything? And it's like, well, this is something that takes a while. I'm like, and we're changing your eating habits. You've been eating crap for the last 60 years, and you've just now decided to start eating right and everything. So I mean, it's great and it's going to change, and it's that you're going to get there, but you got to give it some time. You're undoing a lifetime's worth of a habit or something like that. And in your case, if this is something that was planted in your head at an early age, through comments and what have you, it's something that, those are things that, like you said, it's, for better or for worse, those things will always rent a little space in your brain. But how you're able to navigate that, though, and your strength to be able to, that's in your control, and that's what you can focus on and work on and get stronger at, and become better able to deal with it. So, and that sounds like that's what you've done. So again, I commend you big for not only recognizing the situation, but seeking out the help, appreciating the people you have around you who are helping you, because that is a humongous, for anybody dealing with any situation of any kind, grief, I mean, anything. I mean, having a support group is just one of the most important things in the world. And I'm so happy to hear that Joey and other people in your life have been there for you. You are very fortunate and lucky in that way, but I'm glad.
Thank you.
Well, along those lines, I do have a question for you, though. I've known you for maybe 5 years or so, right? I mean, we're not,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, we're not like, we don't hang out every day or anything, but I know you. I consider you a good friend. I used to see you and I'd say like, wow, she's got it all together. She's acting, she's in the wrestling thing, she's beautiful, intelligent, funny. She's married. It looked like you had it all together. I had no idea any of this was going on. But like your family or close friends, for them, if they, and not just for you, but for anybody, if you think somebody in your life is going through something like that, what's the best way for them to approach that person?
It's a good question.
It's a tough question. It's a fair question, and one that I admittedly don't have the best answer to. Everyone in my life tried to make little comments like, hey, you should eat a little bit more. I'm a little bit concerned about you. I know my colleagues at work, they were outright afraid to because of HIPAA laws and being reported to HR. But
Yeah.
I think the best advice I can give is, if you love someone, find a private place, talk it out, tell them your concerns. And of course, we're over 18, so do with it what you will, but at least you've done your best to voice your concerns. That's the hard part. When you're adults, you can't force someone to do anything. All you can do is be there for them, love them, and hope that sooner or later they will come to see it themselves, because I didn't see it for many years, and there's nothing anyone could have done because I didn't admit it to myself.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. If everyone in the world can tell you, something, and if until you decide that that's something you want to do, it's just going to bounce right off of you. I mean, or it might make you feel worse, because you've got people coming to you and telling you this, and then you feel like, well, I should be doing this, but I don't feel like I can, and then that feeling of defeat can just drive you deeper into the problem. So I totally get that. And it's a sensitive thing to bring up or anything like that. But I agree that all you can do as a friend is, you go to them and say, look, this is what I'm seeing. I'm concerned because I love you. I care about you. I want you to be, in my life. I want to be in your life. I want you to be happy, but at that point, all you can do is give yourself up to the person and offer yourself up. And when they're ready for you, then you can be there. But if you hammer them over the head with it, it's just gonna, in my opinion, pushes them further away from wanting
And you
help.
know what? That is something very smart that you just did there. Don't use you language. You're not doing this. You should be doing this. Putting it on yourself makes them feel less defensive, and that they'll be more receptive to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, your family wants you around. They want you to be healthy. They want you to be happy. And if you put it in that light, it's less accusatory. And it's more like, hey, if you don't do it for anyone, do it for us because we love you. So, but good for you though.
Thank you.
Is there any last bit of advice you'd like to give?
I think this advice is something that we can all benefit from, especially in the last couple of years with everything going on. But enjoy your life now. Don't say, I'm gonna, restrict my eating and I'll be happy later when I'm old. No, enjoy your life now. Don't go crazy, but eat that burger if you want it. Have a salad later, go for a run. Don't exercise if your body doesn't feel like it. Enjoy your family, live in the now, stop worrying about what you're not. because you're everything to somebody, whether you realize it or not.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
said. Well
I
said.
mean, it's everything in moderation. It's like I tell my clients, like when we start really like knuckling down on dieting and things like that, I'm like, you have not had your last cheeseburger. You have not had your last pizza. Like, you will have it, and you'll have it in a week or something like that. We're just going to try to get through this week and try to do the best we can, and at the end, you can go have whatever you want. It's like it's okay to do that stuff, and you need the mental break, from some things, and it's good for you to do that. It's just but yeah, do you want to do it every single day? No. There's health consequences to it, but I mean, but I agree. Just, it's but everyone faces their own obstacles that make that harder for some people than others. But I think everything you said today, those definitely come out of wisdom and experience, and I know that in itself, for everything that and you feel right now, will be 10 times more so as your life moves on, because you're going to get even more experience and more wisdom underneath you, and all that's going to give you even more strength as you move forward, so that you deal with this with an even stronger heart and will. So I'm excited for you, and you, everything you got going ahead of you. You're on a great path, and you have a good attitude about it. And I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story with everybody. And hopefully, if there's anybody out there who's listening or watching this that, either knows this firsthand, whether it's themselves or their family members or friends or something, hopefully this has been helpful to them, because, uh, it's important to know that, you're not the only one out there.
You're never alone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to reach out further than you would like, but someone wants to help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
we appreciate you coming on, Elizabeth. The showing your strength, and it's not just for people with eating disorders. I think what you're proving is whatever problem you have, whatever disorder, whatever ailment
Mm-hmm.
have,
Mm-hmm.
to not keep it inside, to find your outlet, to talk about it and help others through it too. And I'm sure people that are listening to this will learn from you, and that's a debt that everyone owes you for being strong enough to come out and do this.
Thank you both so much for giving me this opportunity. This was really hard for me, but I really wanted to verbally, share this with everyone, because I wanted to be honest about who I was, and I really want to help people with this.
Well, I think you've taken one step closer to doing that today by talking about it and opening up. So, on behalf of everyone out there, thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right,
Give my best
Elizabeth.
to your husband there.
Yeah, give that guy a slap in the face for me. All right.
I'm meeting him for dinner. He's not here right now.
All right. Well, you'll see him eventually.
Before we let you go, is there anything on a lighter note? Is there anything
Yeah.
you want to promote? Any appearances you'll be making, whether acting or in the squared circle?
Well, I'm actually in the midst of a play right now, Miracle on 34th Street at Overshadowed Productions in Medina. We're almost all the way sold out of all of our shows. So if you want to go to overshadowed.org and look for Miracle on 34th Street, I play Santa's head elf Q and do a bit of song and dance.
Oh, cool.
Don't want to miss it.
Very cool. Very cool. That's
awesome.
I
saw you at the Green Man Theater. And I was not familiar with the play, and you guys kind of downplayed it. You guys had big parts in that, a lot bigger part than I thought you'd have. And you really knocked it out of the park. And I told this to Tommy off camera before. Mm-hmm. I was very impressed by the two of you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. We had a blast. That was fun, being able to work off of each other in a comedic manner.
Yeah.
Not so different than Joey and Roxy.
Exactly.
But
yeah. I saw little bits of the two of you in there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that people hear about that show. If there's any tickets left, hopefully can get in there and get to see you in action. So thank you again for coming on. Enjoy your holiday, and we would love to have you back on again someday.
Absolutely. Thanks. And everyone, remember to keep having heart.
Yes.
Much love to you, Elizabeth.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.
That was Roxy Hart, aka Elizabeth, and wow, what an important message, and what a brave woman.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said at the end there, that this isn't just about eating disorders. It's something that it's anything. Whether you have, an addiction of some sort to anything, whether you are depressed, grieving, anything where you just are feeling like you're sinking and you don't have anybody. It takes a lot of effort. It does, and I get that, but you got to find the people in your life who are the most positive, the ones are your do or die people who will be there for you and not judge you, and then you have to be okay to let yourself lean on them. And it's very hard for people to not only admit to other people and say, hey, look, this is what's going on, and I've got this issue, I've got a problem, or whatever it is. It's hard enough to admit it, but there's a lot of people who have a very hard time accepting help from other people, even if it's in the form of just their support and their friendship and everything. It's just you can feel ashamed, that you've gotten to a point where you need this help,
Right.
or embarrassed or whatever. But it's been my experience, at least, that a lot of that is all internal. It's like you're feeling those things, but you're feeling them because that's you interpreting their reaction. You're projecting, and they wouldn't be there helping you. It wouldn't be there for you if they didn't care. They're there because they care about you. So
Well, it takes so much strength. I've told you a little bit about my childhood and high school and all that, and I spoke about it in one of our school chats. And I didn't have the courage at that time to say anything or to ask for help or anything, and I took it all inside, and I made myself miserable for a lot of years. And had I had the strength of like Roxy, and had I sought help, it would have made my life then and probably now a lot easier. So,
Yeah.
the message too is whether you have an ailment or whether it's like you could be the victim of abuse, you could be the victim of something else too.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a situation, be strong enough to get help one way or the other, because you don't want to carry this with you. Life is long, but it's also short. You don't want to carry this with you through your whole life. You want to make your life as good as possible. And kudos to Roxy for doing that for herself and for her family.
Yeah. No, I agree. Tomorrow is never promised, and you should definitely live in the moment and want to be as present as you can for yourself and for all the people you care about, because like she said, there's, regardless of what you may think of yourself, there's someone out there that thinks the world of you. And, if God forbid something happened to you, man, would that just destroy them, So,
and like I said, I knew Roxy. Again, we weren't hangout buddies every night, but I was.
Yeah, but you would never know. Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
no idea.
And that speaks to another thing, that it's, there's so many people who are walking around with things going on in their lives that you have no idea. You just don't know. Just because they're not walking around wearing a sign that says,
Right.
You don't know. And so it's just another reason why, like, someone cuts you off in traffic, you let it go. It's like stupid things like that. It's like you don't know what's going on in that person's world, or what happened that day, or or any of that sort of stuff. And it's just, you try your best to just be patient with the world and be good, and be the best person you can be, because it's I've been on both sides of that, where you're just you're feeling alone, and I've also been the one who's tried to help someone else.
Right.
And both have their struggles and difficulties, because it's hard sometimes when you're trying to help somebody, but you can't cut through. And like we were saying, if they're not ready to make that change, there's nothing you're going to be able to say. It's one of the biggest problems I have with my business, actually. I think I've talked to you about before, is that I can't talk somebody into getting personal training and starting to work out. Now, if they already want to start working out and have a personal trainer, well, then I can give you every reason why I could get the job done for you and be a good personal trainer for you. But I can't convince anybody cold open, just, like, hey, you should start working out and you should pay me, and I'm going to make you work out so many times a week, and I'm going to make you change your diet, and I'm going to change the whole way you live your life, and you're going to pay me for it. It's like if I was a massage therapist and I said, well, look, you can give me the same amount of money, but all you got to do is lay on this table and let me give you a massage. That's a much easier sell, So, but I know deep down, like when I talk to somebody, like I interview clients before we start working out and stuff. And one of the first thing I usually ask them is, why do you want to do this? And if they say, well, my husband told me I need to do this, or my doctor told me I need to do this, if it comes from anybody other than I want to do this, then we're already off to a bad start. And I tell them that. I mean, because I know that they're going to go into this resenting the fact that they're doing it because somebody else has pressured them into it, and then they're only going to put so much effort into it because of it. And then they're probably going to just bail in the end. And then it's been a waste of everybody's time. So, you got to let people come to their own decision. But it helps for you to be able to put yourself out there and say, look, I see what's going on. I care about you. I'm available. Use me to help you, and then that's really all you can do. And just, be supportive however you can along the way.
And the more people like Roxy who come out and speak about stuff like this and show that it's not something to be embarrassed about, it's not something to be ashamed about. It's like, if you break your finger, you get help. If you have a headache, you take an aspirin.
Absolutely.
So if you have this, you need help one way or the other, and there's no shame ever in needing help. And for, it's important for people like Roxy to come out and speak about that. And the more people that do it, the more we'll do it, and the more we'll all be more aware of everything.
Right. Well, again, thank you to Roxy for coming on the show and being so open. I know that's not easy to do, but
it wasn't easy. You could feel the emotion, the raw.
Yeah. But
wow.
You never know how something like that will reverberate. Who might hear this? They may not. Someone may not hear this from 2 years from now, and then they listen to this. And that's the right time and moment for them. And it helps them. You never know how something like that will affect someone out there in the world. So, so it's just one more piece of positivity to throw out there. So again, thank you to her for that. John, I've been trying to get you to get help for a long time. You still have yet to find your way, but I am here. And, and if people wanted to lend their support to you, where online could they find you?
They could look up Johngy's feet and see me anywhere online. They could check me on any of the socials. They could check me on the Johngy or Else podcast. Where can people find Tommy Else?
Well, for people who want to lend their support to me, who have seen and listened to the abuse that I endure,
God knows you need it.
I am definitely a victim of abuse on this show on a weekly basis, it would seem, at the very least. And just being friends with you in general is very difficult. And if anyone would like to reach out and talk, they can find me on the Twit at Tommy_else. They can find me on the Gram at Tommy_else. They can find me on the book at the Johngy or Else podcast page. They can find me on the Tube at the Johngy or Else channel, as well as the Tommy Else channel. They can find me on the Spot at the Johngy or Else channel. They can also find our merchandise at the T, ProWrestlingTees.com in the Johngy's Beat shop. And as always, just shuffle through all the Johngy's Beat shirts and go straight to the Johngy URLs podcast merchandise. We've got hoodies and t-shirts. And
if you haven't bought one yet, you might want to, there's a little secret for you, a little hack for you. Wait a couple of weeks till the Christmas holiday time. I'm sure they will have a 20% off sale. I mean, what's better than a Johngy URL shirt? A Johngy URL shirt at 20% off.
And then, and then I think they're also going to have a sale. If you look up Johngy's Beat on the fans, I think there's going to be I think there's going to be like a 15% Christmas discount there for his OF account. So, well,
it's not producing much money right now.
So that being said, thanks again to Roxy. And for the Johngy URLs podcast, I, of course, have been who else but Tommy Else. With me, as always, is the man on the beat from johngysbeat.com, Mr. John Robleski.
Share the love.